Hello, 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 hello. And I want to thank you for tuning in to another Never Give Up Productions Life the Podcast Show episode, hosted by the one and only, the greatest host in the world, Othello, the most eligible bachelor in the world. And you're listening to him at Never Give Up Productions Life, the podcast show. Good evening, everybody. Um, Tonight's episode is titled differently, but I think that once I say it, I think you will get what I'm talking about here. But before we get into that, let me just explain a couple of things to you. I've been paying attention to Kamala Harris and Donald Trump going back and forth about Roe versus Wade, abortions, and should they be legal, should they not be legal. And this is what I come up with, right? You know, they do a lot of finger pointing about who's responsible for this, who's responsible for that. Nobody can give like a direct answer um, of what's right and wrong and this and that. So, what I'm about to do here is just give you my perspective on it and what I think it boils down to. And I haven't heard anybody mention it. They talk about all these laws and all these things, and nobody's saying who is really in control. You know, you got women saying, "Oh, you shouldn't tell me what to do with my body." You got men saying, you know, they don't feel included, or they don't have a say in whether or not a woman gets an abortion or not. Um, so this has been tugging on me for some time. So I just decided to throw my 2 cents in and see if anybody will consider this one. Now, some of this is just me um, saying some things to make a point, right? This is not a law. I'm not asking for anything to be incorporated as a law, but I just want to give you some perspective on what I'm shooting for here. Okay, so this title of this episode is Subjective Based Problem Solving for Abortion in the United States of America. Okay, so the first thing is I don't believe abortion should be allowed in certain legal, consensual sexual situations. When a woman wants to have an abortion after the mother and father of that child willingly engaged in unprotected sex, they mutually decided on gambling, also considered as risk taking whether or not she would get pregnant. Because going into this situation, both parties have to know that there is a possibility if we follow through with this act, that there is a possibility that she could become pregnant. All right. We all know that. And I think that that's a contract to me. I propose something to you, you respond back in agreement, we agree. we enter into this act. To me, that's a contract. It's a verbal contract. Number two, do you think consensual sex between all parties that are legally able to consent, whether it is a spoken consent or a physical consent, is a contract between those parties? Do you think that? That's just saying, hey, I come over or you come over and we're watching a movie and the mood gets to feel a certain way. And let's say I reach over and start rubbing on her breast and she doesn't tell me not to. Um, and then we end up getting engaging in sex, having sex. You know what I'm saying? Um, Unprotected sex. So that is a physical, what I call a physical consent, where we didn't sit down and say, "Oh, at 7 p.m. we're going to have sex." This was just done in the flow of our evening. Number three, the decision was made between all involved parties in that exact moment. The decision to engage in having sex unprotected was made between all human beings involved in that are legally able, consenting human beings. So both parties in that situation are of good mental health, they're of age, and so forth and so on. So um, that's an agreement, and we are legally able to make that agreement. Number four, those parties went into the sex act knowing that it is a 1/10 of a percent possibility that she could get pregnant if this sex act with her goes forward unprotected by both parties. And then he releases any amount of sperm inside of her vagina. So just the slightest little bit is seeps out while engaging in the act of unprotected sex before he fully ejaculates, because when you're having sex, body fluids are seeping little here, little there until either party reaches that climax. Number five, while they are having unprotected sex, sperm can come out of the party or parties and get her pregnant before the party or parties fully ejaculates. The parties involved have to know this, that are engaging in unprotected sex with her. Everybody has to know this. You have to know this. I mean, I don't know how you could not know this. I don't know. You tell me. I think that um, people know it could happen. I just think that they just don't think it's going to happen to them until it happens to them. Number six, that these actions could lead to her getting pregnant even if the unprotected party or parties decides to pull out of her before he fully ejaculates inside of her vagina. So that's the pull out game. You can try that, but again, going back to the thing I said earlier, engaging in unprotected sex, semen will seep. A drop here, a drop there, doesn't matter. It's coming out. And therefore, it's in the place that it's supposed to be in order for it to do what it was designed to do, which was find its way to her eggs. Number seven, the evening of having fun is over. Sometime later, the woman comes to know that she's pregnant. We don't know, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, 5 weeks, when she misses her period. But even some people can be pregnant and still have a period. So she discovers that she's pregnant. And I don't know all the thoughts that a woman mind her mind goes through when she finds out that she's pregnant. from a casual sexual relationship, a serious sexual relationship, a committed relationship involving sex, a marriage involving consensual sex. I mentioned this to the last two because it is a way a woman can become pregnant through rape and incest. So that's why I mentioned those last two because they just may not even, they may be in a bad relationship and don't want to have sex. And then this person, her mate, or whoever he may be, decides that he's going to have sex with her against her will. And then from that, the result of that, the consequence of that is her getting pregnant. Or a family member, decides that, whether it's through marriage or blood, decides that they are going to have sex with this individual. And then she becomes pregnant that way. Number 8, this woman that willingly had unprotected sex is now ready to go have an abortion. Now that she's minus the incest and the rape, the consensual things are the ones that I'm addressing here. Now she's pregnant, and now she's like, oh my God, this is bad. Oh my God, I'm losing my mind. I don't want to be pregnant. I just got this new job, and I'm just now finna start school, or I'm getting ready to start school, and it's just, I can't have this right now. I can't go through this right now, and blah, blah, blah. So that is, I think that is a poor excuse to have an abortion because of some employment opportunity or some educational opportunity. Um, I think that, again, if you've had consensual sex and had become pregnant, I think you just deal with it and you work around the employment and the school. So, number 9, she gets to make this abortion decision without consulting the father of their child to have an abortion when she and the father of that child made the decision together. They made this decision together. Then they consented to have unprotected sex, knowing that there's a potential for them to get pregnant. I don't understand it. I don't know. It's not rocket science to me. It's not rocket science to me. My question is, why does the woman get to make the decision solo to have an abortion separately when they had to agree on all the above to make this legal act? What I mean by legal act, they consented. It wasn't rape. So since they came into agreement together, why can't they do everything along the way together? That's my thing. Why can't we make this decision? Why can't we talk about this and cover all the angles of the things that may be a negative or whatever? The negative and the positive, the bad and the good. Why can't we sit down and discuss this? Why does one person get to make this call? You know, and just in case you're wondering, because I'm a guy, and why do I feel this way? Because I've been a victim of multiple abortions, two by the same individual, and she did them both without my knowledge. Two times she did this. I've been a victim of it 4 times. So, and nobody ever consulted me and said, "Hey, this is where we are. This is what I'm thinking. What do you think?" Because we did this together, so we should make this decision together. That's just me. So Number 11. Why doesn't that man that created that child have a right to have a say if he's in agreement with the abortion option? If that's the topic, then I think that he should hear her out, she should hear him out, and they come up with a solution that works for both of them. Because you're in this together. You're a team now. You were a team then, you know. Unless now I give her this option, I would say this. If multiple parties were involved in a sex act and she became pregnant, meaning for those that don't understand what I'm saying, let's say there were multiple men involved in this sex act with this one woman, and then she became pregnant from that sex act. Then at that point, I don't know, man. I just think, I mean, you agreed to it. So, and that means whatever consequence that comes along with that agreement, you should accept. Like you could get a STD as well. You know, um, there's a lot that could go on when you make these type of decisions, you know, in the heat of the moment or just doing it just because without putting any real thought into it. You got to think about what you do before you do it. I call it, you think about it like this: north, south, east, and west. That's four ways. And then you got north, northeast, southwest. You got all these different angles that you should be looking at this from, because if you're saying you want to have an abortion because this is about to destroy your life, the future, your future, then why didn't you consider that before you engaged in the act? That's my question. If what you got going on or coming up in life is so important to you, why didn't you take the time to consider all the angles of what could happen and how this could affect your life? Because all it takes is 5 seconds for your life to be changed, if that long. So I don't know. This is just my opinion. These are the things that I'm thinking about as I hear all the stuff that the government is talking about. Like I say, they're just talking about abortion and a woman's health and this and that. Now, I'm not saying don't not being able to have abortion due to health risk, you know. Um, so that is something that should be decided between you and your doctor. You know, if something happens and this pregnancy could cost you your life, you have a decision to make. Your doctor explain everything to you, and then the doctor should have the authority to um, allow you to have the abortion for these specific reasons, um, without another one's consent. But I think the the father of the child should be in on that as well, and you know explain to him as well that, hey, Mister, we'll just call it that because I don't know the name. Um, Such and such needs to have an abortion because of this health reason. Again, you guys agreed to this unprotected sex, so you're involved in this as well. And that's my thing. Just all parties involved, bring them in and get the conversation going. And so that's just me. And here's number 12. What if the father of that child wants this child, but the woman doesn't, but the father does? Now, if there's a solo act allowed, then she can deny this man the right to be a father. And the fact that she's pregnant gives him certain parental rights legally. So I'm just wondering how this abortion thing can work both ways, where some things are legal and then some things are not. It's either going to be legal all the way through from A to Z, or it's not going to be legal all the way through, because it creates conflict. It creates a battle between the male and female. You know, so there something needs to be done that would give both parties um, legal right to this child. Like, what if, let's just say this, I don't know. We're just talking here. What if the father says, why don't you give birth to the baby? I'll take the baby, and then you can go on with your life. There's another option other than just flat out aborting this baby because it's going to be an inconvenience for you. Because I am that guy. I will take my child. You have it, you give birth, here I come. There are a couple of things that you need to do along the way for about 6 months, but yeah, we can work around that. Why is that not an option? Nobody's talking about that. Let's go to 13. I just covered it. Here's the option. You have the baby, because I've heard this, where women say, you know, the father of the child, he ain't going to take care of the child, so I'm just going to abort it. Now, you didn't talk to him about that. You stereotyped him and automatically assumed that, because I've experienced that. So that's why conversations need to be had. And so, what if he says, I want to provide for the child? I'll take care of the child. I want to provide for it. I think he should have that option. Number 15. Now, the way things are currently structured, he doesn't get a say in any of this matter. That he willfully and knowingly entered into with this woman. Mind you, legally, he entered into this when they consented, when everybody's clothes was off, down, pulled to the side, whatever the case may have been. No one got up and filed rape charges. No one called the police and said that XYZ did something to me yesterday or last night or last week that I did not want to happen. You know, um, so this is crazy to me. So, but when I get to the bottom, I hope you guys watch this all the way through so you get all the information, so you can see what I came up with at the end of this, because people make this so complicated and such a big blown up issue when I don't think it is. I think it's very simple. And when I get to the end, you will know. I just have some points that I want to touch on before I get to that point. Like right now, we're on 16. So let me scroll to the bottom and see exactly how many we have. I'll give it to the jury at 38. That's when I say give it to the jury. Once you hear everything I have to say and the points that I'm making, then you get to make your own decision to see if you agree with me or you disagree. And I hope you guys, I'm ready for the conversation. Um, put it in the comments. I'm ready. I'll answer everything. I will address you. And if you want, we will schedule it where you can come on, and through the Zoom or whatever, we can do the another episode concerning this matter, because you want to be heard. I want to hear you. I don't run from conversations as long as it is a conversation and you know how to have a conversation. Meaning, I should say, example, I have a point. Allow me to get that point out and the whole point, and then I hand it to you. Then I'm not going to interrupt you while you're responding to that. And then we'll go like that, like a tennis match. I'll hit it to you. You hit it back to me when you're done. I hit it back to you, and we'll go back and forth until either time runs out or we have an agreement. Because I'm not the kind of guy that does the whole we'll agree to disagree thing. I think that's stupid. I think that leaves us just as dumb when we leave as we were when we walked in. I want to leave feeling like I have some information to process. I got some new perspectives, some things that I may not have considered that would educate me. So I don't want to be left dumb. So if there's anything about what I'm saying here now that you feel there's something more to it, let me know. We can talk about it. I don't run like that. So let's get back to this. Number 16. In my opinion, it's a breach of contract. They both agreed to participate in this unprotected sex act, knowing that there's a slim chance that she could end up with a life inside her. Is considered fruit of the poisonous tree exception. Now, if you guys don't know what that is, Google that. Fruit of the poisonous tree. It's a legal thing that says if any evidence was illegally obtained in order for charges to be filed against someone, then the court will throw it out. And I put that in there because both parties knew that there's a possibility that there could be pregnancy happen from this. So here's the rest of it. The fruit of the poisonous tree exception. There are some exceptions to the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine, such as when the evidence would have been inevitably discovered through legal means, or when there is a significant, I can't even say this word, I'm not even going to try it, I'm just going to spell it, Attenuation. That's Attenuation. Between the legal act and the discovery of evidence. Now, here's the discovery of evidence, her realizing that she's pregnant. So, when she discovers that she's pregnant, she wants to go make a decision based on her own situation. But now you have two people that made this decision. So now, like I said, the legal act and the discovery of the evidence. They legally consented to unprotected sex as a consequence of their actions, and this consented action, the fruit from this consent is the child. So I'll do it again. In my opinion, it's a breach of contract. It's a breach contract. They both agreed to participate in this unprotected sex act, knowing that there's a slim chance that she could end up pregnant. I mean, she could end up with a life inside of her. Same thing. Is considered fruit of the poisonous tree exception. There are some exceptions to the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine, such as when the evidence would have been inevitably discovered through legal means, or when there is a significant, again, that word, Attenuation, between the legal act, which was the consenting of the two people to consent to having unprotected sex, and the discovery of the evidence. Well, the discovery is when she realizes whether she pees on the little stick and it turns a color, or she goes to the doctor, urinates, and they tell her that she's pregnant. That's the discovery of the evidence. They legally consented to unprotected sex as a consequence of their actions. Well, that's the consequence. The possibility of ending up with an STD or pregnancy. Now, you can get an STD that you can walk away from, and then there's STDs that you may not be able to walk away from. And then there's pregnancy. So I think pregnancy is a better thing than contracting something like AIDS or anything like that that you may not be able to walk away from. So they legally consented to unprotected sex as a consequence of their actions, and this is a consented action. The fruit from this consent is the child. Number 17, they didn't have a discussion concerning if she gets pregnant from this sexual encounter, what would take place next. Not communicating. Everybody just wanted to pull the underwear down, pull the drawers off, pull them to the side. You know what I'm saying? Pull them partially down. Everybody just wants to engage in sex. It's like this is a sex driven country. You know what I'm saying? Sex moves everything. I mean, if you look at TV, you just see it sells everything. Everybody is using sex to market everything. And then they're wondering why everybody is sexually charged up, like a Tesla, fully charged. And the only thing they see is, I just want to have sex. I just want to have sex. I just want to have sex. Because that's what's promoted here in the US. So now we create problems when we move like that. Number 17. That's what I just said. They didn't have a discussion concerning if she gets pregnant from this sexual encounter, what would take place next. 18. According to the law, no one has the right to take another human being's life unless your life is in imminent danger or the court has sentenced you to death. Doing so outside of imminent danger is committing murder. That's the penal code. That's not the legal term right there, but that's where it goes. Like in some states, you have, like California doesn't have, they don't have a self-defense law. They got justifiable homicide. That means there was no other action you could have taken to get yourself, to protect your life from this individual that's trying to take yours. So at the end of the day, you had to make a judgment call, and you make it. But then when the police get involved, they're going to investigate what you say. They're going to look at the evidence. And if it makes sense, then you more than likely won't be charged for taking this person's life. So now that lines up with abortion for health concerns. You see what I'm saying? So, number 19, at the end of the day, only one individual gets to make the decision if that child makes it into this world. Only one person gets to make that decision if the child makes it into this world. When the law of the land sentences another human being to be executed, there is a lengthy process, and there are a lot of individuals involved in that process. So when a person that broke the law gets charged, they get found, arrested, charged, they go through the court process. So just look at all the people involved: police, sheriff, highway patrol, state troopers, FBI, whatever level of law enforcement there is, gets wind of it. They do their investigation. they find the person that did the homicide. Then they arrest them, charge them, and then the process begins. You get your day in court, as people say. You go through your arraignment, and then you start, going through the process. And at the end of that process, you decided to go to a jury trial, and they have found you guilty of the homicide, and it wasn't a legal homicide. So now they say it's senseless. So now they sentence you to death row. They want to take your life now, and the court orders it. They send you over to the Department of Corrections, and then that process starts. And then there's appeals and all this. Like I said, there's a lot of people involved in this decision. So why can't two people, just two people that made this agreement consensually, talk and come up with a decision that works for both parties? Because if you do the math on the court case of the homicide and see how many people involved with the police, the jail that's holding you, courtrooms with the jury and the judge and the reporter and bailiffs and lawyers and prosecutors and all that, and then you're going to Department of Corrections and all. I mean, there's a ton of people involved here in this process to get you from the arrest all the way to death row to be executed. And then here's number 20. We're almost there, people. We're over halfway done. I understand a man cannot carry a child. The woman has to want to carry that child until she goes into labor. If she voluntarily wants to carry that child inside her, then she will do all the necessary things to make sure she's healthy and the baby is healthy. If she wants to keep this child. So I'm saying that to say this. If she doesn't want to carry that child inside of her and she is not legally able to get an abortion, then she could be intentionally unhealthy towards herself and the baby, and that intentional act could harm or kill the child. You see what I'm saying here? That's cold. So, but if she decides not to, if she wasn't able to get the abortion and she has to carry this baby, the resentment for that, she may intentionally harm the child by not taking care of herself, because she needs to be healthy in order for the baby to be healthy. So, but if she doesn't want to carry that child inside of her and she can't get an abortion, then she could be intentionally unhealthy towards herself and the baby, and that intentional act would harm or kill the child or allow the child to be born with a birth defect or birth defects. At that point, it is defined as premeditated murder. Means an unlawful killing of a human being or a fetus with malice of forethought. This means that the perpetrator intended to kill or showed a disregard for human life. Now, these are the legal things that's already on the books. So for me, I'm not understanding if this is already the law, how are the abortion clinics allowed to operate? Did nobody think of that? This is murder. But the abortion clinics are allowed to operate. Every time, I don't know how many abortions Planned Parenthood does a year, but each one of those that doesn't have anything to do with the mother's life at risk from complications of pregnancy is murder. So let's move to 22. I want you to think about that one. That's number 21. Number 22. It's a catch 22 here. This is the alternative for not allowing an abortion in this case. If she's not going to do everything prescribed by the doctor to make sure their baby is going to be born healthy, that's within her control. Allow the abortion. Number 23. In this case, I say create a law titled irresponsible law that both parties, the man and the woman that are legally, willfully, and knowingly, the, let me read that again, that both parties, meaning the man or men and the woman that legally, willfully, and knowingly had unprotected sex with one another should be given in court a mandatory fine of $1,250,000 for being irresponsible. That goes for her and him because he could have done something too to prevent this act from happening, from her getting pregnant. Just putting forth the effort is what I'm saying here. When there's no effort, the chances of pregnancy increase. So that fine should be $1,250,000 for both parties. So that's $2.5 million. Fine. Ordered by the court. So if this decision was made while being under the influence of alcohol or of drugs, or anything that would make it where you are not thinking rationally. Now, technically, you cannot consent if you are under the influence before the sex act. So that means somebody did some rape somewhere, depending on who was the one that initiated the sex act, whether it was her or him. Now you have another legal issue. When you're not thinking rationally, the fine from the court should increase to 1.5 million for both parties. If she doesn't know who the father is, that fine will increase to $2 million. I know y'all probably just like puzzled right now, like, what the hell? Yeah, irresponsible. The behavior is irresponsible, and the consequence of that irresponsibility is this baby that now the whole America is bickering over. Revenue and Recovery will collect these fines and distribute them through legitimate organizations that seriously help abused children get therapy and counseling. In the courtroom, when the judge finds you guilty of whatever level of fine fits your situation, a wage garnishment should be put on both parties effective immediately. Bank accounts frozen, tax refunds garnished, and or any location where there's income could be generated through or form. A lien put on any real estate with value, cars with value. So basically, when you leave that courtroom and that fine is put there, there's going to be a garnishment sent to the IRS. Whenever you file taxes, if you got a refund coming, they're going to take it and apply it to the fine. If you have a vehicle and it's almost paid off, they could seize the vehicle, sell it, pay off the lien holder, and take the remaining part of that cash and apply it to your fine. Interesting. And so let's continue. So once the lien is put on everything for those parties that was in the courtroom, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some people that's going to try and help you go around this IRS thing and the liens and all that. So let's address that part. Anybody that is caught helping you escape paying these fines will be subject to the exact same penalty. So their paychecks will be garnished, their taxes will be garnished, their property will be seized and sold, since they felt the need to intervene and enable you to continuously make bad decisions, because you always have an out, a way out, you know. So I think that's what abortion does. I think abortion is a way out for people, and it enables people to be irresponsible, because all you got to do is wake up and walk into a clinic. Just as quick, number 25, just as quickly and easily as you made the decision to have unprotected sex, you could have made the decision to walk into a corner store or any retail store, Walmart, Target, any store, and get as many packs of appropriate condoms you can afford to purchase. Now, this is the man I'm holding accountable for his actions, because he knows that he could have unprotected sex tonight. So, hold on 1 minute. Let me show you something. I'm not even going to edit this part out, that I just went to my nightstand. And here is this being responsible. You see that? A box of condoms. These are natural lamb, skin to skin. So if a person is allergic to latex, here's an option for you. And that's one box, right? I have two. So, and then if you're not allergic to latex, I have one left of these. So, that's when you don't want to deal with all this nonsense, you know. So, you just go out and you buy some of them, and if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. And at the end of the day, when you're just having fun and you're enjoying each other's company and so forth and so on, you guys Netflixing and chilling, whatever that is, if that's still a thing anymore, um, you don't have to deal with all this nonsense. You can go to that job that you were about to get. You getting ready to go to school, have the best educational opportunity that you ever had. It's still available now, because you took the necessary steps to ensure that this is just fun. It's not serious. Maybe it is, maybe it is. I don't know. But until you're ready to sit down and have that discussion about family and raising a family, creating a family, I think these should be all up in your backpack, briefcase, nightstand, bathroom, everywhere. Everywhere. It should be everywhere. So I'm holding him accountable too. So when that court fine is the $1,250,000, he gets it as well. So both parties get that. And if he was under the influence when you guys, or before you guys consented to have sex, I mean, before you guys had sex, you consented to, hey, it's going down tonight. And then y'all get drunk or high or whatever. And then you go do the do. And then, so now your fine is up to 1.5 million each. So that's a $3 million fine for both of you for getting high and doing irresponsible things. Like you can't even drive legally under the influence of marijuana or alcohol or medication. There's a crime for that. And now it's legal for you to make this decision without consequence. No, I don't agree with that. So let's move on. And if you can't afford to buy a condom, you definitely shouldn't be having sex because you sure as hell can't afford to pay for a baby. There's been conversations that a woman should be able to choose what she wants to do with her body. She did make that choice. She did. Um, she chose right there in that moment. She chose what she wanted to do with her body. She wanted to give it to that man or those men. Again, that's a contract. She did make the choice when she allowed that man or men to have unprotected sex with her, then allowing those same men to ejaculate inside of her, knowing that there's a possibility that she could end up pregnant. But neither one of them took the necessary steps to increase the chance that pregnancy wouldn't happen. Nobody took the chance. Nobody. Everybody just jumped on in the pond like a fish out of water, flopping around. Ooh, I'm getting me a piece. Oh, I'm getting me a taste. I got her. And now look what you got. You got a real problem. So the rest of this is like I said, she did make that choice when she allowed that man or men to have unprotected sex with her, then allowing those same men to ejaculate inside of her, knowing that there's a possibility that she could end up pregnant. But neither one of them took the necessary steps to increase the chance that pregnancy wouldn't happen. This is the whole irresponsibility thing, being irresponsible. And I think abortion just enables people to stay that way. But this is called a gamble. Therefore, you have enough knowledge to know that irresponsible actions have consequences. When you gamble, there's a possibility that you win and there's a possibility that you lose. Meaning, you might have sex unprotected and don't end up pregnant. That's a win. But then you have sex again and you end up pregnant. You just lost. This situation, there's a possibility that you might get pregnant. Then there's a possibility you don't get pregnant. Because you did get pregnant, this is how we got here. See, we got to look at this the right way. You know, people, we can't just run around here and be irresponsible. We can't. We can't. Lives literally depend on it. And guys, yeah, turn down your lust. Take a moment. Think about your life. Think about what you got going on. How this is going to interfere with that. Let's say she keeps the baby. You don't want her to keep the baby because you really don't want to be with her, but you wanted to have sex with her. But now she keeps the baby. And now she needs help taking care of this baby. You try to convince her to get an abortion and she doesn't do it. So she has the baby, names the baby, and then goes to court and hits you up for child support. Because she wants to keep this baby. Both of you guys' baby. She wants to take care of this baby by herself, but she needs the financial help to do so now. And the judge is going to award her, once they do a DNA test and show that the baby is yours, then they're going to award her money every month. And the less visitation that you have, I know California, the less visitation you have, the higher the child support payment. When I moved from California to Hawaii and I didn't get to see my son, my child support payment went up to $1,100 a month, $1,100 a month. I just paid it because I knew that I helped create this, I helped bring this person into the world. So that's just me taking responsibility for my actions. Now he's 18 to be 19 in January. Finally, if there was any stipulated type of transaction, meaning parties agreed to accept any form of payment for this sexual act, like, I'm gonna get you a purse. I'm gonna buy you a car if you I help you get a car if you have sex with me. I'll buy you this purse that you like. I'm gonna pay your rent. I'm gonna put food in your house. I'm gonna pay your light bill, put gas in your car. Get your hair done, nails done, pedicure for sex. If that is offered and that is the motivation for you to have sex with this person, that becomes a payment for sex, which in most states is against the law. Solicitation and prostitution. Another law that's already on the books. Charges added even if these items are left behind on cards, such as gift cards, or just left on the nightstand. Because some people may think, oh, here goes something, go do something nice for yourself. After the sex act or before the sex act, that's prostitution. I don't care how you look at it. It's prostitution. Irresponsible means lacking a sense of responsibility or duty. It implies a disregard for the consequences of one's actions or a failure to fulfill obligations. I'm going to read that one more time. Irresponsible, this is the definition of irresponsible, means lacking a sense of responsibility or duty. It implies a disregard for the consequences of one's actions or a failure to fulfill obligation. Consequences of one's actions. Not buying condoms for him. Number 2, her knowing that she wants to have unprotected sex up until she decides to get married or finish school or gets her career started or whatever her plan was, she should have gone to the doctor and found a birth control method that would help decrease the possibility of her getting pregnant. Now, you take that action, right? And then you take the action of him you take those actions. This is me doing my part and then her going to do her part. Guess what? We probably increase our chances of not having a baby by probably 98% chance of her not getting pregnant and not have to deal with all of this until she's ready to have a child and the person that she wants to have a child with is ready. When they sit down and agree and talk about how much it's going to cost to raise a child, it's just, come on, people. It's time, man. It's time. No more excuses. No more excuses. So, 30. Here are some examples of irresponsible behavior: driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, engaging in risky behaviors without considering the consequences. Engaging in risky behaviors without considering the consequences. This is all part of the definition of irresponsible. Essentially, an irresponsible person is someone who doesn't take their commitment seriously or who acts without thinking about the potential negative outcomes. Like her getting pregnant, for example. Lord have mercy. I just can't believe that people walk around here like that. That's the last one for irresponsible. Now, here goes responsible. Responsible means being accountable for one's actions or fulfilling one's obligations. It implies a sense of duty, reliability, and consciousness. Here are some examples: engaging in healthy and safe behaviors. Healthy and safe. Huh. Condoms? Birth control for her, condoms for me. Hmm. Unless now he's had a vasectomy, but that's still not 100%. But it increases the chances of her not getting pregnant. Essentially, a responsible person is someone who takes their commitment seriously, acts with care and consideration, and is reliable in fulfilling their obligations. Now, here's the part. We only got two left, and then this is over. Here's the part where you become the jury, and I'm the court, right? I am going to give you jury instructions on how to come back with the verdict. The ingredients are the rules that you use to come back with a guilty verdict or not guilty, right? Number 37. After reading the definitions of being irresponsible and being responsible, which definition would you apply to the above situation concerning abortion? So, after going through all this and me telling you the things that come to my mind, I think at the end of the day, all this boils down to is people being irresponsible. People being irresponsible. And for that, there should be a tax for that. 38. What would be your recommendation using that choice to eliminate or drastically reduce the number of abortions that currently take place in the United States of America? So if you find that these parties involved in creating this child were irresponsible, what way do you think they should be held accountable that would deter them from continuously making this bad decision? Because you don't want to enable them. You want to make it so strong that no matter what, they will make the right decision so that they're not being irresponsible. Because even condoms and birth control are not 100, but it's high. You know what I'm saying? It's really, really, really high that a person may not get pregnant if both parties is being responsible. And then at that point, if it happens, then you can, like I said, then you can sit down and come to the table and talk about it. You know, maybe that baby was just meant to be here. I don't know, but that's something for all parties involved to come up with. So there's your homework. Irresponsible people, or would you consider them to be responsible people? I'm gonna tell you already. My verdict is irresponsible. And for your irresponsible behavior, there should be a tax. Originally, I called it a dummy tax. But again, go back to the title of the episode, subjective. That's what this is. Just subjective based problem solving for abortions in the United States of America. She go out and find her a birth control that works for her body. He puts on condoms that work for him and her. And there we go. We don't have to worry about this abortion thing too much at that point. All we have to deal with then is the people that want an abortion. For the most part, you don't have to worry about it. But the main focus won't be the irresponsible people, it'll be the victims of sexual abuse, unconsented sex. Then you can deal with that instead of just everybody getting a free for all, a free pass. For those people that have been involved in incest and for those people that have been raped. They both are rape, but they're titled differently. So that's my 2 cents on this. And just remember, I've been a victim of 4 abortions without my knowledge. I could have had 4 kids that would have brought me joy and some pain. But that's all part of life. I signed up for that when I had unprotected sex with that person or those people. 4 abortions, 3 women. Thank you for watching this episode of Life the Podcast Show.